So this is part 2 of the story Cadmus and the Dragon's Teeth. And it begins here, territus hoste novo, which means terrified, territus, by the new enemy, hoste novo. And those two words are ablative because it means by the new enemy. In prose, you should really have the preposition ab here. You should have ab hoste novo. But because it's verse, Ovid doesn't quite follow the rules here. And then the next part is Cadmus capere arma parabat. Cadmus was preparing, parabat, to take, capere, or to take up, arms, arma, arms in the sense of weapons. And then we have a bit of direct speech here, which is ne caper. And this means do not take them. Now, in prose, if you want to give a negative command, don't do something, you use noli or nolite plus infinitive. So in prose, this would be noli capere. And in fact, we probably would want an object as well, like noli ea capere, don't take them. But again, this is verse, so the ea has disappeared. And what you've got here is ne, meaning not, that you would normally see in something like a purpose clause. You know, he did something so that this would not happen. And then you've got caper, the imperative form. So do not take them. And then the next phrase is de populo quem terra creaverat unus exclamat. So that means one unus of the people, de populo, whom or which the earth had created, quem terra creaverat. So quem is the masculine accusative singular of qui, quae, quod, and creaverat is pluperfect tense. Again, if this were prose, you'd expect just a genitive populi, so one of the people, unus populi. But in verse, instead of populi genitive, you can have de plus ablative instead. One from the people. Something like that. And then the next phrase here is nec. We're back in direct speech here. Nec te civilibus insere bellis. And that means and do not. So you've got nec meaning and not. And then insere is an imperative. Do not... something like insert yourself. So inserere means to literally sew something into something else. So do not insert yourself, put yourself into civil wars. Civilibus bellis. A bellum civile is a civil war. So in other words, it's none of your business. Stay out of it. Right? This is a civil war. It's a war between us, and you shouldn't get involved. And then here is the next bit. Atque ita terrigenis rigido de fratribus unum comminus ense ferit. Okay. So the first two words, atque ita, mean and so. And then the main verb is ferit. Now, this is not ferro ferre. This is ferio ferire. Okay, so ferro ferre is to carry, but ferio ferire, fourth conjugation, is to strike or smite or hit. So he smites, present tense, he hits with his hard sword, rigido ense. So those are ablative, rigido ense. An ensis is a sword, so with his hard sword, he strikes or smites unum, one, of his brothers, de fratribus. Again, this is something which would be just genitive plural in prose, so you'd have unum fratrium in prose, but here you've got unum de fratribus. So one of his brothers, and the brothers, who are ablative plural, are described with the ablative plural adjective terrigenis, which means earthborn, born from the earth. Right, that comes from the ter bit is linked to terra, and the genis bit is linked to genus, your birth or lineage or descent or race. So one of his earthborn brothers, and then comminus is an adverb which means at close quarters. So that whole phrase means, and so at close quarters, comminus, he smites or strikes, ferit, with his hard sword, rigido ense, one, unum, of his earthborn brothers, terrigenis de fratribus. And then the next phrase here, Iaculo cadit eminus ipse, which means he himself, ipse, and you can add in a word like and here. So there's no word et in the Latin, but we can add it in English. And he himself, ipse, falls, cadit, by a spear or to a spear, iaculo. In other words, he falls when he is hit by a spear from a distance. That's eminus. So that's an adverb meaning from a distance. The idea is a spear thrown from a distance. So I suppose it should be iaculo, iacto, eminus. But again, that word thrown is missed out. So literally the Latin just says a spear from a distance. And then the next phrase here, hunc quoque qui leto dederat. And so that means he who, that's qui, the person who, in Latin that could also be expressed by is qui, the person who, but here it's just qui. So the person who had given, dederat, pluperfect from dare, to give, he who had given, this man also, hunc quoque, so hunc, masculine, accusative, singular from hic, haec, hoc, to death. Leto is the dative singular, meaning death, so letum is death. So he who had given this man also to death, non longius illo vivit, does not live, non vivit, longer, longius, for a longer time, that's a comparative adverb, for a longer time, than him, illo, that's the ablative of comparison. In other words, the person who's just killed this person, the person who's just killed this man, doesn't actually live any longer because he is killed immediately after he has killed someone. And then the next phrase, et expirat modo quas acceperat auras, and he breathes out, expirat, the air, auras, literally that's accusative plural, the breezes, but in English we would probably just say the air, which, quas, that's agreeing with auras, which he had received, acceperat, pluperfect tense, recently, modo. So modo is an adverb here meaning just now or recently. So in other words, the breath of life has only just entered him and now it's gone because he's been killed. Okay. And the next phrase here is exemploque pari furit omnis turba. Okay, so the subject here is omnis turba, the whole crowd. Rages furit with the same example, pari exemplo. Now it's not entirely obvious what that means. The whole crowd rages with the same example. I think the idea is that the example has the same effect on all of them. In other words, once they've seen an example of a person killing someone else, they all start doing it. So it has the same effect on all of them. And then in the next phrase here, suoque marte cadunt, subiti per mutua vulnera fratres. So, and then so you've got que meaning and then the subject is subiti fratres. So fratres are brothers, and subiti is an adjective, which literally means something like sudden, but I think the idea is something like short-lived in this case. They don't live for a long time. So, and the short-lived brothers, there are various ways you could translate subiti, and it's a difficult word to translate, but I would translate it short-lived here. The short-lived brothers, and then the main verb is cadunt. They fall in their own war, suo Marte. So suo means their own, and it's reflexive, referring back to the subject. And then Marte, this is the god Mars, but here the god's name is being used to just mean war, in the same way that Venus can just mean love, as well as referring to the goddess Venus. So they fall, literally it's ablative, with their own war or something, but you could say in their own war. You could supply the word in, which is not there in the Latin. And they fall per mutua vulnera, through mutual wounds. In other words, by wounding each other, right? All of them, it's not like some external person, some person outside the situation has come in and started attacking them. The wounds are mutual. They are giving the wounds to each other within their own group. So that whole phrase means, and the short-lived brothers, subiti fratres, fall, cadunt, in their own war, suo Marte, through mutual wounds, per mutua vulnera. And then the next phrase here is this line, Iamque brevis vitae spatium sortita juventus. So, and now, Iamque, the youth, Juventus, like the group of young people, having obtained sortita. Now, sortita looks like a passive. It looks like a perfect passive participle, but it comes from a deponent verb, sortior, which is to obtain something. For example, obtaining it by lot sometimes. So therefore, the perfect participle has a passive form but an active meaning. So having obtained a space, a spatium, of brief life, brevis vitae, okay, or that whole phrase, and in fact, technically brevis goes with vitae, but you could translate it as going with spatium. So you could say a brief span of life instead of a span of brief life. So that whole phrase means, and now the youth, iamque juventus, having obtained sortita, a span, spatium, of brief life, brevis vitae. And then in the next phrase, sanguineam tepido plangebat pectorem matrem. So the youth, they're the subject, what were they doing? They were plangebat, imperfect. They were pounding, sort of beating on on their the object is sanguineam matrem. Now, sanguineus is an adjective meaning bloody or bloodied, and the noun is matrem. So they were pounding on their bloodied mother. In other words, their mother who has been covered with blood. Now, who is the mother of these people? Well, in fact, it is the earth, because these people were born in the myth out of the earth. Right? So the youth were pounding their bloodied mother, the earth. In other words, one by one, they are falling on the earth, and each dead body sort of hits the earth, pounds the earth as it falls. And the mother is described as being tepido pectore, with her warm breast, or with warm breast. Tepidus meaning warm, and a pectus meaning a breast. So that whole phrase means they, the people, the young people, the Juventus, were pounding, plangebat, their bloodied mother, sanguineam matrem, with warm breast, tepido pectore. And then there's a little phrase here, quinque superstitibus. That means with 5, quinque, surviving, superstitibus. So that's quite a common Latin word, a superstes. It's a survivor. And this is the ablative plural. So with 5 survivors. This is almost an ablative absolute with 5 people surviving, something like that. Of whom, quorum. So that's the genitive plural of qui. So of whom, one, unus, was ekion, fuit ekion. So fuit, remember that's the perfect tense of sum, fui, fuisti, fuit, fuimus, fuistis, fuerunt. And then let's have a look at this next line. Is sua iecit humo monitu tritonidis arma. So here we are. So is means he, and then iecit, he threw, right? Perfect tense of yakio, I throw. Remember, not to confuse yakio with an I, that means I throw, with yakeo, I lie down, yakere. So yakeo, yakere is second conjugation, and it means I lie down. Whereas yakio, yakere is mixed conjugation, and it means to throw. Right, so he threw his weapons, iecit arma, to the ground. Humo means on the ground or to the ground. At the warning, monitu, or by the warning, with the warning, because of the warning of Tritonis, Tritonidis. Now, Tritonis is a name, and it's a name for the goddess Athena. And she's sometimes called Tritonis because in the myth, or in some versions of the myth, she was born at a place called Lake Tritonis in Libya. Okay, so Tritonis is a reference to Athena, or in Roman terms, Minerva. Okay, so he threw, is iecit, his weapons, arma, to the ground, humo, at the warning of Tritonis, monitu Tritonidis. And he sought, petiit, right? So this is the verb peto, petere, to seek. The perfect is usually petivi, but as you see here, it can also be petii. So he sought and gave, deditque, a pledge, so fidem, that means a faith or trust or an act of trust, like a pledge, of fraternal peace, fraternae parcis. So those are both genitive. The adjective fraternae, genitive feminine singular, agreeing with parcis, genitive feminine singular. So that whole line means, and he sought and gave, petiitque, deditque, a pledge, fidem, of fraternal peace, fraternae parcis. So in other words, these are all brothers, right? They're all born out of the earth, and they manage to reach an agreement together, a pledge, so that they don't all kill each other. And this is the beginning of Thebes.